Hey everyone, I have 12 comps I want you to try on set 12 PBE. This can be found on bunnymuffins.lol/PBE, and they are going to be Scholar Ryze, Honeymancer Veigar, Akali Nilah, High Horsepower Lillia, 2 Tanky, Bastion AD, Chrono Karma, Multistriker Kalista, Sweet Tooth Nunu, Portal Ezreal, Witchy Wallop and Eldritch Mages. So in the PBE, there are going to be a ton of different changes every single patch. And because it's a testing environment, these patches get changed almost every day. Luckily, if you want to keep track of everything, there's going to be updates from Riot to this, and you can get that on my Discord in the official updates section, where they post the PBE patch notes as they happen. Well, let's get into how to play some of these comps. The first one I want to go over is Scholar Ryze. So I've seen a bunch of different ways people are building Ryze, and I think most of them are wrong. A lot of people are building Spear of Shojin on Ryze. I think that's completely unnecessary. In case you did not know, Scholar gives mana on auto attack, so you pretty much have a built-in Shojin. You don't need to double up on it. And I found that like a Gwynsu's Rageblade or an attack speed item such as Red Buff works a lot better. Combine that with a static Shiv because you have so much attack speed, and Ryze becomes like a auto attacking machine, casting a bunch still. And then you could complement the third item with a Jeweled Gauntlet, Archangels, or Rabadon's Death Cap. It reminds me of the Disco Twisted Fate build from a while back. But for the rest of the comp, you want your main tank to be Nasus. It could be Taric as well. It really depends on the patch. Some patches Taric is stronger, some patches Nasus is stronger. So take your pick on that. I generally just pick whoever I 2-star first, and then after that you want to complement your team with the other 4 scholars, Zoe, Milio, and Bard. And then, of course, to add complementary synergies, Nico for Shapeshifter for Nasus, Rakan for Preserver for your whole team, and then Shen for Bastion for Taric. For this comp, you want to do a fast 8 because you have a lot of different forecasts, but it's a really powerful comp and I highly recommend trying this one out. Next up we have is the Honeymancer Veigar build. So Veigar is pretty interesting because he has 2 different builds that work with him. Honestly, the mage one might be better, but I like the honey champions. They look so funny to me, so because the PBE is all about fun, I'm gonna list out the Honeymancer version. But if you want to do the 5 mage, 3 Honeymancer version, just take out either Blitzcrank, Ziggs, or Kog'Maw and throw in 2 mages. I recommend Nami and maybe Galio, but it really could just be Nami plus anyone else. But the main core of the comp is going to be Vex and Veigar, so these are both 3-cost units, so you're going to follow a 3-cost reroll pattern, and that's going to be at level 7, slow rolling. And for Veigar's items, you definitely want these 3 you see here. Blue buff for casting a lot, Jewel Gauntlet for damage, and Hextech Gunblade for healing. So you definitely need the healing item on Veigar because he gets hit by so much random stuff, it's actually insane, and he helps Vex kind of sustain up a little bit. The reason why you want to do this build over building something like Archangels or Hat is because he gets a lot of natural AP from his passive ability, which is whenever you buy a charm, you gain some bonus AP. So he gets that built in a lot already. So you want to get a lot of these other complementary effects that you see here. But of course, like building a Hat isn't the end of the world on him. Ability power works really, really well with the Mage trait because you cast twice, so you kind of get double the effectiveness. Next up, we have Vex. Stoneplate is the name of the game there. Build as many as you can on Vex because she gets a big benefit whenever more units target her. So you want people to target her. What item benefits from that? It's going to be Stoneplate. So build that as much as you can on her. If you want some other options, Crown Guard's really good. Good mix of AP for mages and also just like a decent tank item in general. Lastly, we have Nora and Yuumi. You want the utility items on your Nora, Static Shiv and Morello. Decent applier of Morello, great user of Static Shiv as a support unit, in this case at least. So that is a pretty easy comp there to kind of take over some games with. But the mage version is better. If you get a +1 spatula going 5 mage and 5 Honeymancer, that's going to be the even better scenario. But any variation of at least 3 Honeymancer, 3 mage is going to work perfect for you. Next up we have is Akali and Nilah. This one is going to be a little bit interesting, a little bit different from some of the other rerolls we've been seeing because it's focused mainly on Akali. Nilah's a great secondary carry though, but we also want some 3-cost rerolls as well. So Hecarim at 3-star is great. You could even get Mordekaiser and Shen if you have enough money to. So if you have like Golden Ticket or Prismatic Ticket, whatever it's called, March of Progress, things like that. It's like some prismatic econ augment that helps you get all these units start up. It's great to get all 5 of them. But just getting the core 2, Akali and Nilah, is more than good enough in a lot of other cases. For Akali's items, you definitely want Edge of Night, most important item, and then after that, Hand of Justice and IE is a great combo because you want some sort of healing and damage item, and these two items synergize together because Infinity Edge makes your abilities critically strike, and then Hand of Justice gives you more critical strike chance. But if you build like a Bloodthirster and a Titans, like no one's gonna hate you for that, no one's gonna blame you, or any other combination of like damage items such as like Giant Slayer or healing items. Nilah is gonna be a little bit interesting though, because I've been seeing a lot of people build Nilah with Bloodthirster Titans, but I actually haven't found that much success with it. I found much better use with this weird build. So if you want to be a hipster, go ahead and try this out. Let me know which one you prefer more. The classic frontline bruiser build or this like more interesting build. We have Quicksilver because Nilah has 2 range. A lot of units in this set right now, the frontline units at least, have a bunch of CC that have the text of like the furthest unit within like 3 hexes gets stunned. And that often happens to be targeting Nilah. And I did not like that. I found that my Nilah stunned almost all the time. So I was like, let me try putting a Quicksilver on her, doesn't get stunned anymore, and then I'm very happy about that. After that, the Shojin is a little weird too. I use it to get her to cast faster because it kind of lets her jump away from danger, but I've been finding really good results with it so far, so do give that a try if you have not already. Of course, like the standard build, which is just essentially like BT Titans and like another damage item or healing item, it's gonna work perfectly fine, but I think I want to do more experimenting with this build. Next one up we have is Hecarim. He's going to be your Even Shroud holder. It's great because it reduces the armor for all 3 of these units. Hecarim does do physical damage in this set. And then after that, just like Titan's Resolve, like maybe a Bloodthirster, any of your leftover items are going to drop on Hecarim. And then if you have like a 3-star Mordekaiser or Shen because you rerolled a lot of units, just drop a Thieves Gloves on them and call it a day. Next one up we have is the High Horsepower Lillia. This is one of many hero augments of the set, and this one is going to revolve around Bastion. So Lillia's a little funky. She really likes ability power, and the reason why is because her heal on her ability and the damage on her ability scale off of ability power. So I don't want to waste a slot building like a Bloodthirster, even though it might be decent on her, because she already has built-in healing in her kit. So instead, I'm going to go for an Archangel Staff and a Crown Guard. Crown Guard gives some durability, and it gives a lot of ability power. Archangels just gives a ton of ability power, and then I'm of course going to put the Fairy Crown on her. She is my queen after all if I'm getting the hero augment, so you pretty much have to put it on her. Next up we have is Poppy. Poppy is a great unit to kind of complement this team with because she is a 1-cost, so just put Warmogs on her or like a Sunfire Cape. Sunfire is pretty good because Bastions live a long time, you get to burn a bunch of people, and Warmogs is incredibly important in any Bastion comp. Like if you could put Warmogs on all your Bastions, like go ahead and do it, because they need a lot of health, because Bastion, what does that trait do? It gives magic resistance and armor. So the way to make that even more effective is by adding in a ton of health, which is exactly what Warmogs does. So that's what you want to do there. But just follow a 1-cost reroll leveling pattern for this comp, and of course you need the High Horsepower augment to make it work. Next one up we have is 2 Tanky Blasters. If anyone remembers Twin Terror, 2 Tanky is a new Twin Terror, but there's a twist. It no longer provides offensive stats, it only provides defensive stats, and I think this is a very interesting change, which I think will be received well, because you no longer need to get 2 copies of your DPS units in the back. Oftentimes the second copy would either be too OP to the point where it just kills everything along with the 3-star version, and other times it's just completely useless as a trait bot and it's kind of annoying to play around. So this one's a lot better because it just focuses on the tanks. At 3 cost, Swain and Nico are obvious candidates because they're both shapeshifters, they share a tank trait, and they're both 3 cost, so you just play both of them. You make one a main tank, make one a utility tank. I don't really think it matters which one. I mean, obviously it does matter, but for right now, it's just whoever you 3-star, probably you want to make them your main tank. But ideally, you're 3-starring both of them, right? And then they get the 2 tanky trait, which just adds a lot of health. Then in the backline, you could focus on stuff like Hui and Ezreal. Both are blaster 3 costs, and put the ability power items on Hui, put the attack damage items on Ezreal, and you should be looking pretty good. And you have a lot of open slots to add in a bunch of other stuff. We have 6 units as a 3 cost right now. We added in Diana for Frost, but honestly, you could add in whatever because that's only 7 units. So you have like a lot of extra slots that you could kind of fit in, which is really nice thing about the comp. Next one up we have is going to be Bastion and attack damage flex. This one reminds me a lot of the Caitlyn, Ezreal, Heartsteel builds of the past, not because of the econ that you build up, but more so because you flex between two different AD carries. Sometimes it's Kalista, sometimes it's Varus. What I like to do when playing this, or when I've seen other people play this, is they go fast 8, they see who they hit in terms of tanks, Taric or Nasus, itemize them. They see who they hit in the backline, Varus or Kalista, itemize them. And then kind of go from there. Maybe you fast 9, add in a bunch of legendaries. Maybe you play the board you see here. Maybe you go in a completely different direction and maybe you go like 4 blaster or something like that. There's a lot of different options in every flex comp, but this is just merely one of them. Pyro's pretty good because it gives a lot of attack speed, and when you get kills, you kind of get stacks, which is kind of fun to do. Taric or Nasus main tank, depends who you 2-star first. Diana's a great late game insurance along with Smolder, and then for items in the back, like obviously like Varus and Kalista, they use very similar items. Just make sure one of them has a Last Whisper because that's going to be a very crucial part of your comp, since you pretty much only do attack damage. Next one up we have is going to be Chrono Karma. Chrono Karma is going to follow the same build as the Veigar build. The reason why is because Chrono works very similarly to Veigar's passive. It just gives a lot of ability power, and what do you want when you do have a lot of AP? You want to complement it with stuff like critical strike chance, maybe some healing, and casting a lot. So that's exactly what this build achieves with the blue buff JG and the Hextech Gunblade. After that, main tank, it could be Taric. It could be Tahm Kench. I really like the trio of Tahm Kench, Hecarim plus Taric. It gives you Bastion and Arcana all in one as a 4-3-4 combo. And then for your late game, you have Morgana plus Camille. Syndra's also a pretty interesting unit. You get Incanter from that, which gives more AP to your team, but you also are able to get magic penetration from your Syndra. So you don't need stuff like Static Shiv or Ionic Spark. I mean, you could still build it if you have it, but Syndra, once she casts 15 times throughout the game, she will just magic shred whoever she uses her ability on, which is really neat. But standard leveling here, because you're going for 4 costs, Karma, Taric, and Tahm Kench, those are going to be your bread and butters. Next one up we have is Multistriker Kalista. This one's very easy to play compared to the AD Flex build that we see up here. This one is just going to be 7 Multistriker plus Rakan. So Rakan is a fairy, so that's good for Kalista. You get the fairy crown. She's our new queen, no longer is it Lillia. And then we do the Rageblade IE on Kalista. Since there are limited item slots, I like putting the Even Shroud on one of the tanks. It could be Rakan, it could be Shen. Maybe you want Rakan as your main tank with all the regular tank items, maybe like a Warmogs, maybe like a Bramble, Declaw, things like that. I like Adaptive Helm, get him to cast a little faster. Shen's good with the utility tank items. And then Camille, again, late game insurance because she is just the legendary multi-striker. Overall solid comp. You want to follow a standard leveling pattern, get both Rakan and Kalista to 2-star. But this comp is great because it is very cheap. You're running Ashe, Jax, Cassinan, and Akali, and that makes the team a lot more affordable. So if you're in one of those games where your econ's a little low, but you're still trying to fast 8, maybe try something like this if you have attack damage items. A big upgrade to this comp though is when you get a +1 multi-striker. That way you can replace one of these crapper low-cost units and then play literally anything else. Next one up we have is going to be Sweet Tooth Nunu, a fan favorite here. Just because he's so funny. What Sweet Tooth does is it's a hero augment for Nunu. He's going to be gaining max health every time he kills a unit permanently, which is absolutely nuts. So Bloodthirster's great for that because it's a % health shield on Bloodthirster. Archangel's great so that he stacks up AP throughout the fight. And then Crown Guard, just a decent AP/tank item, which is essentially what he is. He's like an AP bruiser when you get the augment. And then just throw in a bunch of Bastions. 4 Bastion is very, very powerful. The difference between 2 and 4 is like literally night and day. And then you definitely want to run a lot of Honeymancy for Nunu because the way Honeymancy works, it's the bees give you bonus damage on damage dealt and damage taken. Nunu's doing both of that, so he is just the perfect candidate for like a 5 or 7 Honeymancy build. Next for this build, you want to follow a 2-cost reroll, so get the Nunu to 3-star, and you could also run like a Kog'Maw carry. If that's the case, if you get Kog'Maw 3-star as well, just add in a Hunter to activate his trait and you'll be more than good to go. Next one up we have is Portal Ezreal reroll. Portal Ezreal reroll works kind of similarly to the Veigar build that we saw before because you're focused on 3 costs, Ezreal and Vex. Same rules with Vex as before, you want the stone plates, but this time maybe add in like a Warmogs. Warmogs is great because it gives you a lot of effective health with the resistances that you'll be getting from the stone plates, so that's a good substitute for Crown Guard if you don't get the items for that. Taric in this situation is going to be good at holding all the utility items because Vex is busy being the main tank as a 3-star, and then in the backline you have Ezreal, Ryze, Zoe, and Nora. So Ezreal, He's going to use a lot of the same items Aphelios used in last set, the Faded Aphelios build. Pretty much whatever worked on Aphelios is going to work on your Ezreal. So here we have like the Rageblade Shojin IE build, red buff works, there's a lot of different things that work here. And then if you have extra items, drop them on your Ryze or your Nora. So again, 3 cost reroll for this, then level up, add in other synergies, get to 6 portal, pretty decent power spike there. If you get +1 portal, wow, this really is really similar to the Faded build. But if you get +1 portal, that's going to be even better, because then you don't have to run one of the crappers. Next one up we have is going to be Witchy Wallop Poppy, another hero augment build. But I want to make one important distinction because I made this mistake in the past. Normally when we're building frontline bruisers, we build like BT Titans, but Sterix is incredible in Poppy because with the Bastion build, we talked about this before, Bastions give a lot of resistances, and what is it lacking? It's lacking health. So that's exactly what Sterix provides. It provides a lot of health, it provides a lot of attack damage. So it's literally the perfect item for this hero augment called Witchy Wallop. Follow that up with some healing from the Bloodthirster, some damage with the IE or some other damage item, and you're going to be good to go there. The way to complement this build is, since you're doing a 1-cost reroll, since Poppy's a 1-cost, you could add in Lillia 3-star, throw some tank items on her, maybe a Zoe 3-star, throw some AP items on her, and if you do get to Ryze, dropping a Morello on him is great because it burns people down as your Bastion's tank for 10 years, and it'll help Poppy slowly kill everything eventually. Finally, the last build we have is Eldritch Mages. This comp is really good because it's easy to play. It's just a vertical comp at 7 Eldritch. Briar's actually going to be the main carry, but your main carry doesn't really matter. It's going to be the Eldritch Bear that's going to be coming out hopefully when you get to 7. But I really prefer running this comp with a +1 emblem because it's really hard to make the thresholds without it. Then Nora and Nami are going to be great in the backline. Nora's going to be a great Morello applier as we saw before. Drop a Shojin on Nora to get Nora to cast faster. And then for the Nami, just any generic AP damage dealer build is going to work well. Shojin, Archangels plus Nashor's Tooth. The one issue with Nami is that you have to run mages with her because she casts a big cast on her 3rd cast. I don't know why I said cast so many times there, but because of that, you need mages because mages add a 2nd cast to every time they cast. So without mages, she is just super gimped. And the reason why is because they have to balance her that way, because if not, she would be too OP if like she worked without mages, because then if you do add mages, she would be too incredible. So unfortunately, whenever you run Nami, you have to run mages. So it's kind of awkward to fit the 7 Eldritch plus Galio plus Nora to get to 3 mages. But it is what it is. The reason why I like Nora is because Nora's a legendary, so you have to kind of include it. But Galio's great in the front because you need tanks in this Eldritch build. If you look at all the Eldritch units, you have like Elise, Ashe, Syndra, Nami, Briar, Nilah, and Mordekaiser. Only 2 of them are actual tanks. It's Mordekaiser and Elise. Most of them are damage dealers, and the reason why is because the Big Bear up front is supposed to do a lot of tanking, but it's hard to get to that point. You don't want like a bunch of damage dealers to die before it gets out, or like have them take a bunch of damage so they die to leftover AoE. So getting Galio in there is definitely more than welcome, but you don't really need like tank items in the front line. Like you could put them on Mordekaiser, but it's a little awkward because he's only a 3-cost unit. Like, yeah, you have to do it in some cases because who else are you going to put them on? But it's not something you're like dying to do, you know? You'd much prefer getting like items for your backline, which hopefully should be doing some type of work. But standard leveling pattern for this, and that is going to be all the comps, and that is going to be the 12th comp. So just to summarize up here, again, they're going to be making changes to PBE almost every day. So this is not like a tier list or not like the power levels of the comp. It's just comps to try out. So let me know which one is your favorite out of all these. Scholar Ryze, Honeymancer Veigar, Akali Nilah, Horsepower Lillia, 2 Tanky, Bastion AD, Chrono Karma, Multistriker Kalista, Sweet Tooth Nunu, Portal Ezreal, Witchy Wallop Poppy, and Eldritch Mages. And also let me know what comps are your favorite that are not included here. This is by no means a comprehensive list. There are too many comps to list out there right now because so many people are cooking up strange things. And honestly, there's a lot of different things you could do based on what augments you're getting this set. I think this is going to be like a decently flexible set. Flexible in the sense that you're going to be playing different things in a lot of cases. But of course, you could just pick your augment on 2-1 and tunnel into something there. But that's going to be it for me today. Hopefully you all enjoyed this, and I'll see you all next time.